am reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And please do not forget that we will be doing back-to-back episode of Hot Takes for each night of SummerSlam. So if you want to be part of that, make sure that you're following me over there. Link in the description. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I am incredibly confident that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if you're looking for our review of this particular episode of Friday Night SmackDown, it's already up and available with footage over on patreon.com/SantiZap. On top of that, we'll be uploading the night 1 and night 2 reviews of SummerSlam with footage as well over there. So make sure you go check that out. All right, folks, let's see what you guys sent in. Is it just me or does anyone else not fully trust Cena after that segment? And is anyone sensing major shenanigans from his side of things during the street fight like Travis Scott and The Rock? No, you are not the only one feeling this way. There is part of me that believes that Cena is just taking us for a ride, but I'm such a John Cena fanboy that I'm going to choose to believe that my childhood hero is back, baby. But there is a huge grouping of people online that don't believe a thing that came out of John Cena's mouth, that still believe that Cena is still heel, that all he did was lower our guards just to rip our hearts out again in the SummerSlam main event. But what I think happened here is that John Cena reset himself, and he reset himself so that when the shenanigans do happen at SummerSlam, like The Rock, or far less likely Travis Scott, we've heard that the relationship there has completely deteriorated. If any of those two names come out, now that Cena has turned babyface, you don't know exactly who they're there to help. So I think that this served as a reset button so that when all the crazy stuff does happen at SummerSlam, you can't fully predict where the crazy stuff is going to land and whose side the crazy stuff is going to be on. Which honestly is kind of exciting to think about it that way, because if The Rock's music does hit, who is he out there to help? We have to once again ask that question after what we just saw here from John Cena. So do I trust John Cena? The answer is mostly yes, but that is just my childhood whims that is willing to put my heart in John Cena's hands just to have him crush it again. Love John Cena's promo. It felt supernatural. I think the timing was perfect for him to be face again. That said, I feel like they didn't know how to do that turn smoothly, so they went with a sudden shift. Honestly, better than that just dragging out his heel run with no solid ending. It certainly did feel like they just sort of flipped a switch and just said, hey, we are done with everything that John Cena did as a heel. Let's pretend that didn't happen. We're back to babyface John Cena. We were never going to be able to pay off the story of heel John Cena because, as John Cena said, the people from Hollywood that helped him get to this spot just up and left and forced him to carry things on his own. And that now he's going to be the only platinum recording rap artist that's going to be in the WWE, which is a not so subtle dig, of course, at the absence of Travis Scott. So let's pretend in a world where this was a babyface turn, that there isn't going to be shenanigans at SummerSlam. Is this sudden? Is this not really built up to? Of course, the answer is yes. However, I would say that if you never have plans to be able to fully pay off the heel run with The Rock or Travis Scott, then you might as well pull the Band-Aid, parachute yourself out of there, and reset things like they maybe or maybe didn't do on this episode of SmackDown. Don't get me wrong, I'm with some of the groupings of people that are saying that they felt like, well, we kind of just wasted the last 4 months with this story that went nowhere, which, listen, I still had fun with it, but if this is the end of that story, they're not wrong. It was technically a waste of time that didn't actually lead to a proper payoff. But then again, I think we should revisit this conversation after SummerSlam when we know for sure whether or not John Cena has taken us for a ride or not, if this is real or not. But if it's real, yeah, it was a huge waste of time. It was. It's not the first time we've had a huge waste of time. Ask the fans of the early 2010s. Just ask them about the anonymous Raw general manager, see what they say. That was the correct way to turn Cena babyface, considering The Rock and Travis won't show up for him to physically turn on them. And that's the thing, right? When you anchor John Cena's heel turn, let me again say this, John Cena's heel turn, one of the biggest moments in professional wrestling history, to two guys that are part-timers and one guy that doesn't even really have any alignment with the WWE as aside from some promotional conversations and promotional back and forth and Travis Scott, then all of a sudden you really are handcuffed to not just one, but two incredibly limited schedules to be able to pay off this story. And I sincerely hope that WWE learned their lesson here, because this has completely backfired. Because if the rumors are true, there is just no relationship right now between Travis Scott and the WWE. Apparently things have gotten sour. Apparently it's open season and people like Drew McIntyre can call him a piece of shit on Impulsive. Apparently the gloves are off when it comes to WWE and superstars' thoughts on Travis Scott, which seems to be pretty universally negative. So you've got this guy that you didn't get to pay off the story that you now apparently hate, and now he's just sort of there, like existing in one of the biggest moments in professional wrestling history. What a mistake. And I said it was a mistake when it happened. I said, you now have Travis Scott in the biggest moment in wrestling history, and in 25 years when Travis Scott is no longer relevant, because music artists come and go, and I just don't think that a Travis Scott has the staying power of some of the greatest musical icons of our time to be remembered 25 years from now. People are going to be wondering, who the hell was that guy that was just spreading sage all over the place? Lesson learned by WWE, I hope. The John Cena babyface turn was shocking to say the least, but I think it should have happened during SummerSlam. I would have loved to have seen the double turn during the match where Cena realized who he was and Cody used it to his advantage. See, I don't think that we're getting a double turn. I'm leaning more towards the side that John Cena really is still a bad guy and that this is all still a ruse. So I think the babyface turn, like I said earlier, was more so to set like the ground stage for like if somebody does come out, we don't exactly know who they're there to help, because in our eyes, they're both good guys. Yeah, obviously, if the plan is a double turn, if Cody does walk out of SummerSlam being the bad guy, I feel like a double turn would have been a lot more impactful. But maybe the intention is to have Cody turn heel on a John Cena that we've fallen in love with, because now he's a good guy and now his heel turn will be significantly more impactful. Maybe that's what they're going for if they do end up doing a Cody heel turn, which I really still don't think that they're going to do. Now, this is a go-home show to SummerSlam. Great title matches and continued storyline. This is what a go-home show to a major show to SummerSlam should be. Yeah, Monday Night Raw, take notes, because that episode of Monday Night Raw was ass. That felt like we were 3 weeks away from Fastlane or Great Balls of Fire. That did not feel like a go-home episode to one of your biggest shows of the year, the biggest SummerSlam of all time. It didn't have any real oomph behind it. Meanwhile, this episode, this had everything. This had championship matches. It had surprises with Mr. Iguana, a huge moment with the John Cena babyface turn. Like, this was a proper go-home. This is how you get people excited for to pay on pay-per-view, if that's still a thing in some countries, or to buy the Peacock subscription or buy the Netflix subscription. These are the episodes that you need. This whole segment felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. By why the sudden change in character for Cena? The whole interaction left me with more questions than answers. Was this a shot at Dwayne? Is this a setup for Cody to be the Rock's champ? Excited for the weekend. See, now we have questions. That's what I was saying. I feel like this was used to remove our expectations from the equation so that when the surprises happen, they are surprises as opposed to things that you would expect. I mean, I was expecting something to happen during the moment when they were both sipping beers, considering they were all looking at each other. Like, who makes that direct of eye contact when they're sipping beers with their bros? You said that this could be a shot at Dwayne. I think, if anything, it was a shot at Travis Scott. I don't think that they're ever bold enough to take a proper shot at Dwayne Johnson, considering, you know, whether he's on screen or not, his presence is ever looming as a board of directors member. But yeah, this whole time, man, I was tense. I was like, when are we going to get that psych moment? When are we going to get Cody Rhodes kicking Cena while Cena is mid-sip? Because we saw Cody Rhodes kind of take Cena out during a moment where he was being vulnerable, saying, I don't think I can go to SummerSlam. I don't think I have it in me. And then he attacks him, forges his signature. So we're seeing a darker side of Cody Rhodes that I thought we were going to see here as well, but we didn't. Maybe we will at SummerSlam, though. Santi, I don't know how many times I'm going to shout this from the rooftops till people listen, but man, I absolutely love this pairing of Kiana, James, and Julia. It really does give me a vibe of Zelina Vega when she was with Andrade. Like, it just fits so well, in my opinion. I'm not ready to say that this fits well at all. In fact, right now, I'm leaning towards the side that it doesn't fit well at all, mostly because we haven't really seen what Kiana James contributes to Julia as of of yet. And honestly, fair enough. Like, it's only been 2 weeks that they've been together officially. If you could like confidently tell me, like, see, like, look how much better her storytelling has gotten. Look how much more of a reaction she gets to her storylines because Kiana James is there to deliver the lines for Julia, then yeah, maybe. But right now, all we have is Kiana James coming out to the ring with Julia, and I felt like she stuck out like a sore thumb during that entrance. Julia's entrance is designed to be just Julia, just herself. This is something that I've said for a long time on this page, is that her entrance is one of the best in the WWE because it feels like a monster is coming out. It feels like an Elden Ring boss has just entered the equation, and it had what the children these days called aura. Having Kiana James out there with her purse walking alongside this demon that's making her way out to the ring does not fit, like, at all. And like I said, right now I haven't seen enough of Kiana James's contributions on the positive end to Julia because we haven't gotten the chance to, for me to say that this is a great pairing. I can't say it's a great pairing yet. Let's talk back in 2 to 3 weeks, or maybe like 6 weeks, because WWE tends to just not feature the Women's US Championship picture in various episodes at a time. No disrespect to Jelly Roll, but I didn't like him being the main event of SmackDown Go Home show over John Cena turning back babyface to close out the back half of his retirement tour, not to mention before the biggest SummerSlam of all time. So that's part of the reason why so many people don't believe that this is a full-blown babyface turn, because this is a big moment, and why wouldn't that big of a moment be in the main event, instead get outshined and Jelly Roll and Smelly Hole is in the main event? Don't get me wrong, I thought that the Jelly Roll, Randy, Logan, and Drew McIntyre stuff was good. Like, I thought it was fun. I thought the promos were really good. The brawl was a lot of fun, but like, we are talking about the return of the champ, the return of so many people's childhood icon returning back to our screens. You would think that it would main event if it was real. Cena buried Travis Scott in that promo, but not the other one. My guess is Rock's coming back at SummerSlam. I think that this is a very, very fair assumption to make. At the very least, I think it's a fair thought to at the very least have in the back of your head. They ran Travis Scott through the coals in this segment, and they have over the last week and a bit, but they refused to say anything bad about The Rock. And one of the things that I did predict was that The Rock would return at this SummerSlam to really accentuate the fact that this is the biggest SummerSlam of all time, to really make sure that other schmuck cities around the world pay $15 million for WWE to bring a 2-night SummerSlam to their city. If you want cities to pay for SummerSlam, you need to create an insane buzz-worthy moment, a reason why people are constantly talking about your show, and I feel like The Rock being in the main event is going to be that reason. The US Women's Championship match was a great opener for SmackDown. Zelina put on a hell of a fight, and so did Julia. This match should have been on the SummerSlam card. They both were very talented in the ring and deserved the chance to shine their talent on the biggest party of the summer. Here's my thought on this, all right? Was the match from an in-ring perspective good enough to be on SummerSlam? Oh my God, yes. I know the bar is really low, but that was the greatest Women's United States Championship match of all time. This is the type of match that you want out of a Julia. I feel like this is what WWE paid for when they got one of the hottest free agents from Stardom. They just haven't really been able to unleash Julia. I felt like this is the first time on the main roster that we've really seen Julia truly be able to go. And if they can do this more and have great dancing partners like Zelina Vega, I think that you can create a really special championship run for Julia. One of the things that I said is that I want a Gunther run from Julia where she has great matches, is destroying the division, and she holds it for like a year and then loses to an up-and-coming plucky babyface. Now, I disagree that it should have been on the SummerSlam card. Again, from talent perspective, from how good the match was, that's totally worthy of SummerSlam, but we know wrestling is more than that. From the storyline that they've told, from the hype, from the build, this had no business being on SummerSlam. Again, not Julia or Zelina's fault. This is entirely WWE's fault, but it still didn't deserve to be on the SummerSlam card. However, SummerSlam does have like 80 hours of a pre-show. You could have done some stuff on the pre-show, and this would have been a hell of a pre-show main eventer. They still haven't given enough light to Jade versus Tiffany. All they had was a 30-second backstage segment. Come on. Oh yeah, dude, they've given up on this. They are not trying at all whatsoever with this storyline. I actually think that their story story, like proper like wrestling feud, is going to start after SummerSlam. I think that something will happen either like post-match or on the Friday Night SmackDown after SummerSlam, where one of them will proper turn heel. By the way, the SmackDown division like desperately needs heels. We'll talk about that a little bit later. One of them needs to turn heel at some point, and I think it's going to happen after SummerSlam, and then post SummerSlam, we'll get a proper story, a proper build to maybe Clash in Paris or some other show in the future between these two. Because right now it feels like WWE has just sort of thrown their hands up and said, fuck it, we ride it done. Let's just see what the people think of this match, because they've put in zero effort into this match, especially since Naomi left over to Monday Night Raw. It's really just left this stranded. The man, the myth, the legend has finally made his mainstream WWE debut. And holy hell was the pop insane. I got excited for Mr. Iguana. He is like the guy from AAA that I want to see be featured more on NXT or on the main roster. And I'm so glad that the main roster gave him the pop that he like deserved, because oh my goodness, was that a lot of fun. Was the match perfect? No, it wasn't. I have heard of people saying that like some of the moves that they do in AAA are harder to do in WWE because the resistance of the ropes is not exactly the same. It's the reason why if you actually watched Pentas debut on Raw Netflix, his first time wrestling in front of a crowd in a WWE proper ring, there were some botches and some errors, and all of them had to do with them stepping on the ropes or doing springboards because the resistance on them are just different. And I've seen Mr. Iguana do that move literally flawlessly a bazillion times, and yeah, he messed it up on his main roster debut, but it's not going to deter me from the fact that I think that this guy is a ridiculously overact that could just move mountains and oodles of merchandise. Again, WWE, I still just have a bootleg Amazon Layesca, which is the exact same one that he owns. Why can't you have a Layesca on the WWE shop so that we can give this man some money? Whoever loses between Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill should slowly turn into a heel. Similar to what Cody and KO did, I believe that both are at their best as heels, and this could help the Women's SmackDown main event scene. Yes, so we just talked about this. I absolutely 100% agree, but it's not even just about helping this feud, right? It would be nice if one of them was the evil doer and, you know, you had the babyface trying to overcome the bad guy. However, this division just straight up needs a top heel. It doesn't have one. The top heel of Friday Night SmackDown is, I'm pretty sure, Chelsea Green in the Secret Service, because once Naomi left the division, well, now she's on Raw. You've got Nia Jax, who was the other one, busy in NXT, and then the other one was Charlotte, who's now a babyface that people want to root for. So there's a huge power vacuum right now left on SmackDown when it comes to who can be the top heel, and I think either of these two could be. I think it's going to be Tiffany, though. As someone who's always never seen the hype with Julia, this match on SmackDown really started to open my eyes. WWE can definitely capitalize with her and make the women's US division amazing just off the back of Julia. I want to see more. They've got it, right? I feel like they finally put in the correct puzzle piece. This is the first time that I feel optimistic about the Women's United States Championship. You have a champion who in their first championship defense looked awesome. Not a squash match. They were in a competitive, great match, but they look strong. And this is something that they have not been able to do with any of their champions thus far. So you've got a great base right now with Julia. Let's build on this. And like you said, use the back of Julia to build the rest of this division out. But this is going to require a lengthy run. If you want to make this work, you need to make her a dominant champion. You need to feature her. I'm not saying every episode of SmackDown. I'm not even saying every PLE, but you need to have her have at least like a monthly championship match to keep us top of mind with Julia and her great matches. By the way, for those that are Stardom fans, this felt like Stardom Julia. This really felt like what WWE paid for. Damian Alistar in Paris is going to be fantastic. I wish that we got more Ron Killings involved, though. He quickly gave up on wanting Cena and got removed from the storyline that it started because of him. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more from Damian Priest versus Alistar Black. I think it's pretty clear that WWE has always intended for this to be paid off at a PLE, and since it didn't end up being SummerSlam, I think Clash in Paris is one that makes total sense. But I think we've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, once we get to Paris, we can't just have a match. I think these guys need to have a street fight, a Paris alley street fight. Sure, why not? WWE loves to localize their street fights when they're international. But I would have liked Ron Killings to come out here, especially when Alistar Black was beating the ever-living piss out of Damian Priest. I was expecting Ron Killings to come come out there and make the save so that we can continue the Alistar Black and Ron killing stuff while continuing to build to the big PLE match between Damian and Alistar. By the way, go back and watch that match. Alistar Black, holy hell, caught Damian Priest flush in the freaking face with that knee. Absolutely nasty. With Black versus Priest ending in a disqualification tonight, I hope that tomorrow during SummerSlam or during the Countdown show, we get Black versus Priest again, but this time with the stipulation of no holds barred rules. I don't think that that's going to end up being the case, but again, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't once again hit it on the head that what are these pre-shows that WWE does? Why does WWE basically use the SmackDown before a big show as their actual like pre-show with matches, and then the actual pre-show is just a bunch of commercials and a complete waste of our time? I'm not saying that Black versus Priest should be on a pre-show. I think they should be on a PLE proper, but clearly there are things and people that you could feature like in a big stadium in front of a large crowd with your pre-shows here. Los Garzas not being in the tag team TLC match at SummerSlam is an absolute crime, as they are one of the most underrated tag teams in wrestling. They didn't have to win the TLC, but the spots that they could have done would have been amazing. Hey, no disagreement here. At the very least, even the lowest team on the totem pole right now, Los Garzas, at least they're also doing stuff. At least they're also developing them. At least they have a storyline, you know, the AAA Tag Team Championship. This is what I mean when I say, like, I don't know why they can't figure out on Monday Night Raw. Like, even on SmackDown, the lowest of the tag teams are still being featured and being given something of substance. I agree. I think Los Garzas in the TLC match would have been nutty. They probably could have done some of the most insane spots in that match. I would have loved for them to be featured. And honestly, like, you've already got the Wyatt Six in there who are going to involve even more people in this match with Howdy and Big Red and Nikki Cross. It wouldn't have hurt to put another team in there. You're already going to have like 15 bodies as is with all the people that could interfere. What's another two? Santi, make sure to read the fine print. If Jelly Roll does a shooting star press, you must oil up. I agree. I hand to God, if Jelly Roll does a shooting star press at SummerSlam, I will oil up live on stream. LA Knight in Triple H's basement while Jelly Roll is getting TV time in WWE. Oh man, it's rough right now being an LA Knight fan. Again, I will not understand how they decided to keep this guy off of SummerSlam. I think there's a possibility that he could make a run-in. I could see him totally making a run-in during the Roman Reigns Jey Uso versus BMB security match. But like this guy was over, man. You built this guy up perfectly to be one of your focal points of SummerSlam, and not only do you like not use him as a focal point, but you don't use him at all. That's crazy to me. Jacob Fatu coming in for the save on Jimmy, then whooping MFT was the highlight of the show for me. For SummerSlam, I'm expecting some crazy stuff from Fatu in the steel cage match now. Okay, what I'm not going to do is what I did at War Games and beg the gods to give us a tsunami from the top of the cage, because all that led to was getting the tsunami at the top of the cage, but it was the worst possible way that you could deliver on that promise, because then we lost Bronson Reed for like 6 months because he shattered his ankle. So no, I will not pray to the gods that Jacob Fatu does a mighty moonsault from the top of the cage, but if he does do it, I hope that he's safe. You said that this was the best thing in SmackDown, the highlight of SmackDown, then I guess you've really liked SmackDown for the past like 7 weeks, because this is the same thing that they've been doing over and over and over and over again. MFT beating down on Jimmy. Oh my God, Jacob Fatu comes out. Jacob Fatu eats all of MFT 1v5. Like, it's been like on repeat for the last several weeks. Also, can I add, like, what a terribly executed plans. Yeah, we're going to bring down the cage so that we can beat up Jimmy and so that Jacob Fatu can't get in the ring. Okay, so then they start lowering it, and then they stop lowering it. Then Jacob Fatu's music hits, and then he gets in because they stop lowering it. And then once he gets in, then they finish lowering it. Dude, it looked goofy as hell. But dude, this faction sucks ass. Like, it's week after week of them just getting their asses whooped by Jacob Fatu. They got to change something up here. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. This is going to go up a little bit earlier than usual because SummerSlam is early, but that's it. I'm done. Goodbye. Get out of here.